Hello you guys. So this is a continuation of my last video, which was a daily vlog. I got to the point in the vlog video where I started sharing some of my journal entries and my thoughts and feelings. But the video got really long, and I know that people don't like really long videos. So I cut that video, and I'm starting fresh with this this is now its own video, so that I can continue reading my journal entries. If you want to know how I'm doing on this particular day, then you got to go back to that video, which I believe I will title something else. So let's read another journal entry, okay, you guys? This was a YouTube post that I recently had. Crisis mismanagement. So I'm someone who struggles with PTSD, and I've been on pills for almost a fucking decade. And a bunch of stuff happened. My story is so complex. Um, but has a lot to do with this. Okay. Sorry. I tend to mess with my hair a lot. I'm sorry. Um, okay, so I invented this word, so basically when I first developed my PTSD and everything, I actually didn't really know what was happening to me. Of course, maybe it's possible that I've had PTSD for years before, but basically a bunch of stuff happened, like a bunch of stuff, like it all converged. Um, I think around 2019, maybe 2018. No, yeah, 2017, 2018, maybe. And ever since then, I've been going through this extreme sort of existential crisis, this extreme identity crisis, this extreme just emotional crisis. Because a lot of things happened, and the greatest contributing factor for my condition is the lack of support that I've been able to acquire or access. And so I invented this. I've spent the last like decade almost like just basically trying to do what I can. The strong do what they can, the weak suffer what they must. I'm strong. Anyway, okay. I'm sorry. I hate my hair. It's too short. Wow. So, I started like journaling and writing a lot and stuff, to try to just get some kind of grip on it, because um I could never get any good help. And so I invented this term crisis mismanagement. Maybe it already exists, but I think it should be out there more. Is that when when someone goes through something and they have an extreme mental health crisis or of some kind, it is important to have crisis management. And, there is good help and bad help. I received bad help. It's important to have crisis mismanagement because if someone receives bad help instead of good help, it can have lasting, damaging effects on a person. And I might be here today to tell you those lasting, damaging effects because they have rippled me. I did not receive good help. I'm not really sure exactly where to go with that. Again, I cannot speak about all of these details very openly because I have a very sensitive living situation, let's say. And so that tends to put a damper on my ability to communicate these thoughts and ideas. But I just want to communicate that specific idea that when someone is having a mental health crisis, it's extremely important to have proper crisis management. And if they do not receive good help and they receive bad help, it can have lasting damaging effects on the person. Even if there is no help available, I think that's no excuse. I basically had to get therapy for my therapy. And I know that's hard to believe, but it's the fucking truth. I mean, when you do not have access to any kind of support structure, when you do not have access to any kind of resources, but you are in need, it doesn't take the actual intensity down of that crisis. It intensifies the crisis. But maybe it looks different. It changes. I just know that I've had a lot locked in, and I've been feeling like a fucking prisoner. For the past decade, I've felt like a prisoner. And I don't know exactly that's a concept that I think deserves recognition, crisis mismanagement. Um, I would love to tell the story, but I don't think I'm ready yet. All I can say is all I can say is there are serious gaps in our society and our ability to care for one another and people and care for our own. That is the case on a governmental level, but it's also the case on a cultural level. Okay. There are norms and behaviors that do real harm to people. And when they are presented as the antidote, um, it greatly cripples them. It does terrible. terrible things. There's a lot of talk about how PTSD rewires the brain. And I definitely can see that, because I just remember that when everything happened to me, I was unable to explain what I was going through, but I just tried to tell people that my brain feels different. Like, it's just not the same. It's not working the same, my brain. And it felt extremely wrong and off. But I was forced to accept it. I was forced to swallow it. And when your nervous system is overloaded, it forces, everything has its place, right? Everything has its place. And when your nervous system is overloaded, it forces the brain to compensate by using parts of the brain for that particular load-bearing task that it shouldn't even be used for that. I mean, that's kind of where psychopathy comes in. When we do these studies about psychopathy, right? Or something. There are structural differences or something in the brain. And I think that it's because there are parts of the brain that are good at math, and there are parts of the brain that are good at communication and love and openness and healing. And when you use the parts of the brain that are supposed to be for math and logic, for self-regulation, for self-soothing, you're misusing that part of the brain. But when your ability to self-soothe is totally overwhelmed, you need all hands on deck. And my ability to self-soothe, I don't have one. And I wish I did. But I think that that's a great assessment for how PTSD works, when people say that it fundamentally rewires the brain. I don't think it rewires the brain. I think it, it treats parts of the brain as if they are load-bearing when they are not meant to be load-bearing. I think that's how it works. The wiring's still the same, but it's like you're running way too much current through this one wire that is only for 110 volts, and you're putting 240 through it. It does fundamentally change the body, and probably damage the body when you have it going right, because then it's physical. I don't know if the wiring's different. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Maybe I don't understand entirely. Maybe the wiring's different or something. Maybe wiring isn't even a good word to describe this. But, I am someone who has received poor crisis management, poor help that has actually hurt me more than helped me. And I have a lot to say about it, I think. And I just think that we should normalize this term, crisis mismanagement. I think that this should become a normal term. Right. Should I make this a new video? Should I make this its own video? yeah, this is now going to be its own video. Okay, so thanks for coming to this video, you guys.